Time hasn't been kind to the hilarious cast of 1995's cult classic Friday. This buddy comedy, featuring Ice Cube and Chris Tucker, followed Craig and Smokey on a wacky day after Craig loses his job. Unlike some films of the era, Friday opted for humor over grit, showcasing the lighter side of life in the hood, even if that life included bullies and a stolen dog. The film's relatable characters and quotable lines have cemented its place in pop culture history. But for some of the actors who brought those characters to life, the curtain has closed all too soon. Today we will take a moment to remember them. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's go. Michael Clarke Duncan, as craps player bouncer by day, aspiring actor by night, Michael Clarke Duncan's journey to Hollywood wasn't a straight shot. After years guarding celebrities and maintaining order, Duncan landed in L.A., only to find his imposing stature relegated to similar on-screen roles. At 6'5" and in excess of 300 pounds, Michael Clarke Duncan cut an imposing figure. But with his breakout performance as the hulking, childlike prisoner in director Frank Darabont's The Green Mile, Duncan proved there was more to him than his fearsome physicality. After years of working as a bouncer and bodyguard, aspiring actor, Duncan could only manage to land roles of the same ilk after arriving in Los Angeles. That all changed when Duncan impressed pyrotechnic auteur Michael Bay enough to cast him alongside Bruce Willis in Armageddon. While trying to land acting gigs, he worked various security jobs in Los Angeles. He even found himself protecting some of the biggest names in the music industry, like Will Smith and Notorious B.I.G. All the while, he never gave up on his acting dream, taking on small roles in movies and TV shows. The tragic death of Notorious B.I.G. in 1997 prompted Duncan to leave the security business and focus all his energy on acting. His early career saw him appear in bit parts, often playing bouncers. A turning point came with the blockbuster film Armageddon, 1998. Landing the role of Bear not only put him on a bigger stage, but also led to a lasting friendship with co-star Bruce Willis. Willis, impressed with Duncan's talent, played a key role in securing him the role that would change his life, John Coffey, in The Green Mile, 1999. Starring alongside Tom Hanks, Duncan delivered a powerful performance that earned him widespread acclaim. His portrayal of the gentle giant John Coffey garnered him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, propelling him into the ranks of Hollywood's elite. Duncan's talents extended beyond live-action acting. He lent his voice to various animated projects, including video games and commercials. He even reprised his villainous role as Kingpin in the animated series Spider-Man: The New Animated Series. Michael Clarke Duncan wasn't just a movie star, he was a familiar face on TV too. He showed up on shows like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and even the crime drama CSI NY. In 2008, he played a role on Chuck and even guest starred a couple of times on 2.5 Men. One of his later TV appearances turned into a bigger opportunity. He guest starred on an episode of Bones in 2011, and that led to him landing the lead role in a spin-off series called The Finder. Sadly, the Bones episode that aired just a few weeks after his passing was dedicated to him. Michael Clarke Duncan also made a lot of friends on late-night television. He appeared a whopping 18 times on The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, and the show's host paid a heartfelt tribute to him after his passing. They even reran some of his episodes with a special message in his memory. Clearly, Michael Clarke Duncan wasn't just a talented actor. He was a well-liked and memorable personality both on and off screen. Michael Clarke Duncan's life ended tragically, and his passing was marked by controversy. At the time of his death, he was in a relationship with reality TV personality Omarosa Manigault. Duncan's family disputed the nature of their relationship and alleged that Omarosa manipulated him, including potentially influencing his will. These claims were never substantiated in court. Despite the controversy, Omarosa did appear on The All-Star Celebrity Apprentice in 2013. She stated that she was playing in honor of Michael and chose to donate her winnings to his favorite charity, the Duncan Children's Center, a cause he had also supported. In July 2012, Michael Clark Duncan had a heart attack and was rushed to the hospital. He stayed in intensive care for a while, but by August, things seemed to be improving and he was moved to a regular room. Sadly, on September 3rd, he passed away in the hospital from problems with his breathing. He was only 54 years old. Anthony Johnson as Azul. One rough night, a seasoned comedian named Robin Harris saw the spark in Eddie's eyes, the raw talent that could ignite a room. Harris, a champion in the making, gave Eddie a second shot, a chance that would change comedy history. Born in Compton, California, his father, a stuntman and co-founder of the Black Stuntmen's Association, helped him land his first gigs in the film industry. But Eddie had his sights set on making people laugh, not just take daring falls. He honed his comedic skills doing stand-up in Los Angeles bars, even when faced with tough crowds. Luckily, he had a champion in comedian Robin Harris, who believed in Eddie's potential and gave him another shot even after a rough performance. Eddie's big break came in 1990 with a starring role in the comedy House Party. This launched his acting career, leading him to appearances in movies like Lethal Weapon 3 and Menace II Society. However, it was the 1995 cult classic Friday that cemented his place in pop culture. His portrayal of Izal, the neighborhood crackhead and thief, was both hilarious and unsettling, showcasing his acting range. Beyond film, Eddie also made his mark in music videos. In Dr. Dre's Dre Day, he brought laughs with his spot-on parody of rapper Eazy-E. He even reprised the role for Eazy-E's video Real Motherfuckin' G's, though this time with less comedic results. Let's just say things got rough for Eddie's character. Eddie Johnson's story is one of laughs, family, and facing challenges. Born in California, his dad, a stuntman, helped him get his foot in the door of Hollywood. But Eddie dreamed of making people laugh, not just take dives. He started doing stand-up comedy, even when crowds were rough. A comedian named Robin Harris believed in him and gave him a second chance, and that turned out to be a good call. Eddie's big break came in the movie House Party in 1990. This led to roles in films like Lethal Weapon 3 and Menace II Society. But it was his part in the cult classic Friday that made him unforgettable. He played a funny but kind of scary character named Izal, and people loved it. He even showed up in music videos doing a hilarious spoof of rapper Eazy-E in Dr. Dre's Dre Day. Eddie was a family man. He was married to Lexis Jones Mason and had 3 daughters. He was also close to his brother and sister. In 2009, there were reports he had a heart attack, but Eddie later said it was a panic attack. Sadly, Eddie passed away in 2021 at the age of 55. The official cause of death was organ problems from drinking too much alcohol for a long time. He also had COVID-19, but didn't feel sick from it. Eddie Johnson's laugh-out-loud characters and dedication to his family left a lasting impression. He'll be remembered for his comedic timing, his perseverance, and the way he brightened people's days. Reynaldo Rey as Red's father. Not everyone makes a smooth transition from educator to entertainer, but Reynaldo Rey defied the odds. After leaving the classroom behind, he rose to comedic heights, becoming a familiar face on stage and screen. Born Harry Reynolds in Oklahoma in 1940, Reynaldo Rey wasn't always a famous comedian. He actually started out as a teacher in Ohio after graduating from Kansas State Teachers College, but the classroom wasn't enough for him. He felt the pull of the stage and started performing with the Karamu House Theater. This taste of performing lit a fire in him. He packed his bags and headed to New York City to make acting his full-time gig. There, he hooked up with the Harlem Theater Group and honed his skills as a stand-up comedian. His talent even landed him opening acts for the legendary soul group The O'Jays. After performing a rap called I'm Scared of You on Def Comedy Jam, the crowd went wild. He even captured the audience's imagination with the lyrics and ended up recording his own video for the song. In 1973, Reynaldo also showed off his brains on a popular game show called Match Game. He was actually a contestant, but thanks to a technicality, they brought him back twice. And guess what? He ended up winning 3 whole games, walking away with a cool $650. New York wasn't just about work for Ray. There, he met the iconic comedian Redd Foxx, who became a big fan and even started managing Ray's career. This connection opened doors for Ray, leading him on a 2-year tour across Europe, Africa, and Asia. He even released comedy albums during this time, with The Rising of Reynaldo Rey in 1978 being a particular hit. In 1982, Reynaldo finally landed his first movie role in a wacky comedy called Young Doctors in Love. He took a few years off screen before popping back up in Eddie Murphy's comedy Harlem Nights in 1989. But the role that really put him on the map for a new generation was playing Ice Cube's dad in the hilarious movie Friday in 1995. Even after Friday, Ray kept busy with acting gigs, taking on interesting character roles in both movies and TV shows. He also developed a stage show where he paid homage to his old friend and comedy inspiration, Redd Foxx. Sadly, Reynaldo Rey passed away in 2015 at the age of 75, John Witherspoon as Mr. Jones. More than just the grumpy neighbor in Friday, John Witherspoon was a comedic chameleon. This stand-up veteran brought his wit to everything from classic sitcoms like Good Times to edgy animated shows like The Boondocks, leaving audiences in stitches for decades. Reese Witherspoon might be a household name now, but her dad, John Witherspoon, had a successful career himself. One of 11 siblings, John actually started out making music with his brother, who went on to become a big deal at Motown, writing and producing songs. John Witherspoon wasn't just an actor. He was a multi-talented guy. He even did some modeling gigs back in the day. But by the 60s and 70s, he was hooked on comedy and started doing stand-up routines. It turns out he was funny because he made friends with a whole bunch of other funny people, including Tim Reed, Robin Williams, Jay Leno, and David Letterman. He even became godfather to John's son. John's acting career took off too. He landed roles in tons of movies, mostly comedies. You might remember him from Friday and the sequels, Hollywood Shuffle or House Party, where he played that cranky neighbor everyone loved to hate. He also showed off his range in movies like Boomerang and even lent his voice to characters in cartoons. John got his start on screen in the 70s with a role on the detective show Barnaby Jones. Believe it or not, he played a camp counselor for troubled teens. He went on to appear in a bunch of other popular shows at the time, like the sitcoms Good Times and What's Happening, and even the superhero show The Incredible Hulk. In 1977, he landed a regular spot on a show called The Richard Pryor Show, which was a big deal. This led to more TV gigs, including an appearance on WKRP in Cincinnati in 1982. John also showed his range by appearing in dramas like Hill Street Blues and L.A. Law in 1981. The 80s kept him busy on the small screen, too. He popped up in sitcoms like 227 and What's Happening Now, a follow-up to the original show he'd been on earlier. He even landed a role on the groundbreaking sitcom Amen, which featured a predominantly black cast. John kept the laughs coming on TV in the 90s with appearances on shows like Townsend Television, Cosmic Slop, and even a tipsy character on Murder Was the Case. He also guest starred on the sitcom Living Single, but his most memorable role from that era was probably playing Pops, the dad on the WB sitcom The Wayans Brothers, 1995-1999. He even lent his voice to an animated character on the show Waynehead, which was loosely based on the life of comedian Damon Wayans. John showed off his comedic skills on reality TV too, competing on Last Comic Standing in 2003. That same year, he voiced a character on The Proud Family and even guest starred on Kim Possible. He also landed a recurring role as Spoon on The Tracy Morgan Show, which ran from 2003 to 2004. In 2004, he played a character named Willie the Wino in a TV movie called Prior Offenses. He even showed up on a talk show called Weekends at the DL that same year. But 2005 was a big year for John. He landed a starring role in an adult animated show called The Boondocks, where he voiced the character of Granddad. The show was so popular it ran for 4 seasons. He also played a singing Santa in a TV movie called Thugaboo, A Miracle on D-Rock Street. John kept busy throughout the 2000s. He did voice acting, appeared on YouTube videos, and even collaborated with rapper Logic on a song. Later on, he played a homeless man named Lloyd on another show by the creator of The Boondocks, called Black Jesus. John Witherspoon had a happy family life. He married Angela Robinson in 1988, and they raised 2 sons together, John David and Alexander. Interestingly, David Letterman, the famous talk show host, was John's best friend and even became godfather to his boys. Sadly, John Witherspoon passed away in 2019 at the age of 77 from a heart attack at his home in California. Justin Pierce as Roach. Although he was something of a street punk and had a reputation of being somewhat difficult on film sets, Justin Pierce was a charismatic and solid screen presence, so his untimely suicide at age 25 left a void. Justin Pierce arrived in the world in a whirlwind, born in London to a Welsh mum and an Aussie dad. His family soon settled in the bustling Marble Hill neighborhood of Manhattan, New York City. School days started off at PS 7 in the Bronx, followed by JHS 141 in Riverdale. Things seemed normal for a while, but when Justin turned 15, his parents went their separate ways. This hit Justin hard, and he started ditching classes to spend more time skateboarding with his friends. Schoolwork fell by the wayside, and eventually, Justin decided to leave altogether. He found a spot to crash with other skaters in a basement apartment, trading textbooks for skateboards. Life on the streets wasn't always easy, and Justin got caught in a bad situation. During a police stop, they found drugs, both marijuana and heroin, hidden on him. Luckily, the evidence wasn't clear-cut, and the charges got dropped in court. Facing the consequences of his choices, Justin eventually moved back in with his parents at 19 years old, ready for a fresh start. One day, while skating his board in the iconic Washington Square Park, fate intervened. Film director Larry Clark spotted Justin's talent and charisma. Clark was impressed, and he cast Justin in his controversial independent film, Kids. The movie caused a stir, but Justin's performance as Casper, the foul-mouthed skater punk friend of Telly, was critically acclaimed. His acting chops earned him an Independent Spirit Award, and Hollywood came calling. Justin packed his bags and relocated to Los Angeles to pursue his newfound passion. Pierce's career was on a promising trajectory. He landed roles in films beyond the controversial Kids, showcasing his range. He played a young Nick Chinlund in A Brother's Kiss and appeared in made-for-TV movies like First Time Felon and This Is How the World Ends. He even scored a guest spot on the popular sitcom Malcolm in the Middle, proving his comedic timing. The icing on the cake came with a part alongside the established comedic duo of Ice Cube and Mike Epps in Next Friday. This string of diverse roles painted a bright future for the young actor. Tragically, that future was cut short. On July 10, 2000, Justin was found dead in his room at the Bellagio Hotel. The news sent shockwaves through the film industry and his tight-knit circle of friends. A more personal picture of Justin emerged at the memorial service held for him on July 15, 2000, at St. Patrick's Old Cathedral in Manhattan's Little Italy. While his Kids co-star Chloe Sevigny's presence acknowledged his professional strides, the true outpouring of grief came from the memorial his friends held at the public theater. Dozens of skaters, his chosen family, converged just blocks from the Supreme store, where Justin was a regular. The sweltering July heat couldn't hold a candle to the raw emotions on display as Knocking on Heaven's Door played. Tears flowed freely as friends took turns sharing stories and memories, offering a glimpse into the Justin they knew beyond the silver screen. It was a poignant tribute that painted a picture of a passionate skateboarder, a loyal friend, and a talented actor whose potential remained tragically unfulfilled. Sadly, on July 10, 2000, Pierce was found hanging in his room at the Bellagio Hotel in Paradise, Nevada, by hotel security. His death was ruled a suicide, and 2 suicide notes were reportedly found, though they have not been made public. LaWanda Page, as old lady years before gracing our screens as the ever-so-proper Aunt Esther, LaWanda Page ruled the comedy clubs with a completely different persona. LaWanda Page grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, where one of her classmates was even named John Elroy Sanford. Talk about foreshadowing. Her first foray into show business wasn't acting, but magic. She performed a nightclub magic act that was pretty cool. After moving to Los Angeles, Page's magic act transformed into something completely different. She developed a stand-up routine that was bold and sassy, even for the 1960s. These late-night routines were recorded on albums for adults only. Interestingly, another comedian on this same record label was none other than her old friend from St. Louis, John Elroy Sanford, who by then had become the legendary Red Fox, known for his even more outrageous stand-up style. Page actually left show business for a while and moved back home in the early 1970s. But then Red Fox came calling. He was starting a new sitcom called Sanford and Son and convinced Page to join him, playing his feisty sister-in-law. Even though Page had never acted before, the chemistry between her and Fox was undeniable. Their hilarious back-and-forth banter quickly became a favorite part of the show for many fans. Without the chemistry between Red Fox and Demond Wilson, the spin-off show Sanford Arms didn't click with viewers. The critics agreed. LaWanda Page was funny on her own, but she needed Fox to bounce off of. The show only lasted 4 episodes. NBC gave it another shot with Sanford in 1980, but this time they completely ignored the events of Sanford Arms. Red Fox came back to play Fred Sanford, but Demond Wilson didn't return. LaWanda Page joined the cast in the 2nd season, but the magic just wasn't there, and the show was canceled again. LaWanda Page kept busy after Sanford. She appeared in a bunch of funny commercials for Church's Chicken with their famous "Gotta Love It" catchphrase. She even lent her voice to a few songs on RuPaul's debut album, including the hit Supermodel, You Better Work. She even showed up in the music videos. On the acting side, she landed a recurring role on the sitcom Martin in the 90s and appeared in a bunch of movies, including Friday and Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood. LaWanda Page had a full personal life alongside her successful career. She married young, at 14, to John Peel. Sadly, they lost their infant son in 1935, but they did have a daughter, Clara, together before John passed away when Page was just 19. Marriage wasn't easy for Page. She was widowed 2 more times before deciding against remarrying in her 30s. Faith played an important role in her life. She was religious and even became an evangelist in the Holiness Church later in life. Interestingly, her daughter Clara also followed a path of preaching as an evangelist. Sadly, Page died of a heart attack following complications from diabetes on September 14, 2002, at age 81. Bernie Mac as Pastor Clever. The king of the sassy one-liner and hilarious family chaos on The Bernie Mac Show, Bernie Mac wasn't supposed to be a dramatic heavyweight, yet he surprised audiences with his depth and pride, showcasing a range that hinted at a future beyond the laugh track. Bernie Mac, born Bernard Jeffrey McCullough in 1957, came up in a tough Chicago neighborhood. Growing up in a big family under one roof provided him with a wealth of material for his future career in comedy. He honed his skills early on, performing in parks and even working at the Regal Theater. By 1977, at the young age of 19, Bernie Mac became a professional comedian. He stuck to his guns, though, refusing to change his act to fit mainstream standards. This meant slow progress through the 80s, with mostly small roles in comedies like Mo Money, House Party 3, and The Walking Dead. 1995 turned out to be a breakout year for Bernie Mac. His HBO special Midnight Mac gained him recognition, and his role as Pastor Clever in Friday earned him a dedicated fan base. He followed this up with memorable roles in Spike Lee's Get on the Bus and the hilarious parody Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood. He even landed a recurring role on the sitcom Moshe. From here on out, Bernie Mac's career was on an upward trajectory. He landed bigger parts in films like How to Be a Player and The Players Club. In 1999, he scored his most high-profile role yet, starring alongside Eddie Murphy in Life. The new century started a new era for the brash Chicago comedian. He was a featured comedian in the original Kings of Comedy. This performance made him more of a household name and led to many more major parts. In 2001, he played Martin Lawrence's uncle in What's the Worst That Could Happen, and later that year was in the star-studded remake of Ocean's 11. However, his biggest success was The Bernie Mac Show, which debuted in 2001 to instant acclaim. However, soon after the series ended, Mac's health took a turn for the worse. Bernie Mac announced his retirement in 2007 on David Letterman's show. He'd been a comedian for 30 years and was ready to slow down and enjoy life. He mentioned missing out on a lot during his career, having spent years on the road performing. Even though he was retiring from stand-up, Bernie Mac was still in high demand in Hollywood. He landed roles in big movies like Transformers, 2007, Madagascar, Escape to Africa, 2008, Soul Men, 2008, and Old Dogs, 2009. Sadly, Bernie Mac passed away in 2008, so he never got to see the last two films come out in theaters. In the last 2 decades, he bravely opened up about his battle with a serious illness called sarcoidosis. This disease causes inflammation in various parts of the body, and the cause remains unknown. Tragically, Bernie Mac was admitted to Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago on July 19, 2008. After spending 3 weeks in intensive care, he passed away on August 9th at the age of 50 from cardiac arrest. While his publicist clarified that the complications weren't directly related to sarcoidosis, it certainly played a role in his health struggles. Bernie Mac was a comedian who refused to change his image for Hollywood and said that his life in Chicago was who he was, and there was nothing that could change that. He was a mature comedian who was very intelligent and engaging in his television, film, and stand-up appearances. That's a look back at some of the talented actors who brought these iconic characters to life. Who was your favorite character, and why? Share your thoughts and memories in the comments below. Who will be featured on our next classic sitcom cast tribute? Stay tuned to find out. See you next time.